You are watching One More Go, the video game show that would really like to punch Motley the Jester in the face. I'm Matt Dillon, and welcome to Viscera Cleanup.
That's a hell of a grudge there, Matt.
That is a hell of a grudge. Welcome to Viscera Cleanup Detail. I am joined by the legendary Mr. Richard Cobbett.
Hi there.
Hello.
I don't mind Motley, but folly can suck it.
Well, that says more about you and your predilections than it does about
we
jesters.
All know it. We all know it's all about Hordress. That's delightful raspberry ripple.
It's going wrong already. Okay, so this is an odd sort of let's play. We've decided to have a bit of a play about in Viscera Cleanup Detail. If you're not familiar with the game, Viscera Cleanup Detail is a game in which you play a sort of cosmic janitor. You know those first-person shooter games that you play where you rip through a level and try to make as many jibs as possible and stuff? Well, imagine you're the poor bastard that has to clean up once the hero saved the day. That's the game. You are the cosmic janitor. And this is a special level which, if we just wander over here, note the dead decapitated elves. Fucking hell. Welcome to Santa's workshop.
Christmas in not even July.
Oh, sweet Minbari Jesus, will you look at this? Do you know what this is? This is the aftermath of Weird Al Yankovic's The Night Santa Went Crazy. This is what we're actually going to see what happened. So, Richard hasn't actually played this before. I have had the pleasure of playing this for a little bit. So, to explain to the people at home and, for Richard himself, who's got to work out what's going on. Okay, so, it's FPS controls. Now, we have our trusty mops, which will spooge off, or sponge off, not spooge, sponge off spooge. That'll spooge off blood stains. So, like, we've got some on the wall here. If I just sort of give it a bit of a thrust, you can see those blood stains coming off quite happily. You'll also notice that the mop has now got bloody and I'm now spreading more blood about. This is because we need to find water buckets. There'll be a water bucket dispenser somewhere to dispense water buckets that you can clean your mop in. Next, we've got the dirt detector, which I don't think there's a scoring system still in this. They're planning to add one. This is still technically, I think, in early access or beta or something, but it's a bit like a PKE meter from Ghostbusters.
With a dildo on the end.
With a dildo on the end. Smell my cheese. Which shows you where there's dirt and stuff. It has got an alternate mode. Can't remember. You'll notice it's called MacGyver. See what they did there. That's the mop again. And you have our happy spanners, our hand spanners, our wank spanners, our hands. And if you left click on things, such as this part of this elf. Hi, Richard! I want to give you a disembodied elf kiss! You can pick them up, and if you right click, you can drop them. So the idea is to clean things up as much as well as possible, and then when we're done, we use the punch-o-matic over here to punch out, and then in theory will be rated on our performance. If you walk through blood and muck, you will track it all over the floor. So that's how it works, and we're just going to have a bit of a chat. So this is one of the dispensers over here, the water load disposal bin. So it'll give you a biohazard disposal bin that we can put body parts in, and it'll keep dispensing those. But sometimes it'll spit out more body parts, because apparently whoever went on this rampage took some time to load up elf bits into the dispensers for a laugh before.
It kind of looks a bit like an evil Bertha.
Bertha was evil.
No, Bertha was lovely.
Bertha scared me. We've also got... This is the bucket machine, so this is the slosh-o-matic. Oh, crikey. Well...
Special Sorcerer's Apprentice mode there.
Once you're already holding something, if you left-click again, you will right it. As in, turn it the right way up. So you can then drop it. So... Oh, there we go, I'll drop that. So we've got some... Oh, it's right. I keep forgetting it's right click. So yes, so we've got to sort of clear up, do our janitor's jobs, and clear up all the dead elves.
All my years of training in Space Quest have prepared me for this. I'm ready.
Right. Now, the other thing we've got to find, unless of course... Oh, well, there's a fire there, so that is the incinerator. The regular version of the game has an incinerator that just burns things you're done with, including, for some reason, used water buckets that are still full of bloody water. So, if I go and drop this present, for example, in there...
Oh, you got me asbestos.
I did, just what you always wanted.
Yeah, that's not burning up.
It will eventually.
Okay.
They take a while, so that's a sort of limitation to make sure.
So the fire will.
So there you go, it's gone now. See.
Okay, so the fire will destroy everything, a bit like life destroys all of our hopes and dreams over time.
Yes, or or steam green light does. So there's an empty bucket that I'm just going to stick in fire. Right, so we are good to go. You managed to have knocked over the bucket. Don't worry, we'll do this a lot. So I generally find the idea is to kind of start in a kernel, start in a corner and kind of work your way towards. But picking up the chunks to start with is normally a good idea.
So basically we go around and kind of grab all the bits of elves and throw them into a bucket.
Yeah, pretty much.
Ah, video games.
Look at this poor fucker. I bet he used to work for QI. This is what Stephen Fry does when he's displeased.
This is what happens to the elves who don't get Twitter accounts.
That's right. I'm very sorry. We got a bit of a fool on that last episode of QI, and Alan Davis.
How many moons?
Do you know I've been doing a big sort of binge. Oh, I died. Yes, it is possible because this is built on. I think it's the Unity engine or the Unreal engine. It is possible to die. You just respawn immediately. So death is kind of a minor inconvenience.
Right.
But it does happen. Yeah, I've been doing sort of a sort of QI rewatch just lately, and yeah, that. Oh, the noise it makes.
I'm feeling quite grateful I haven't got sound on.
Oh, it makes a slurpy noise. Yeah, I've been doing this sort of binge rewatch because it's a lot of it's on Netflix now, and you remember the thing that Alan Davies in the very first episode got the buzzer on answering Blue Whale, and then made a point of answering Blue Whale to at least one question an episode, in the hopes that one day it would be the right answer.
Yeah.
Well, I watched the answer the other day, where the answer the question was name a blue marine animal, and the answer genuinely was the blue whale, and he refused to answer because he thought it was a trap.
Oh, I love QI. It's.
Right, let's dispense another. There we go.
So I'm feeling compelled to sort of stare, focusedly on the job, and sort of picking up all these elf giblets and so on, and not say anything funny. So, have we got a subject?
I don't know. Do you know what? Here's the irony, because we were talking whilst we were getting everything set up, and we went through so many interesting subjects, and now we're playing the game. It's like, so what do you want to talk about?
Why my Logitech camera can suck it. That's quite a good one.
Oh, is that going to go bang? Yes! The dynamite actually works!
Oh, I missed it.
Well, the stuff lying around, look, I'll find it.
Has that destroyed our fire, though? Oh, no, it's okay.
No, it's fine. There we go. There's a big bundle of... Oh, I don't know what that is. A big bundle of comedy dynamite. Here we are.
Oh, one sec.
There was some in Santa's office. So, if I lob that in the fire...
Waiting. Come on. Yay!
I jibbed myself.
Yes, likewise. And also...
And I ended up holding my own jib.
Well, look, I like the cut of your jib.
Oh, this is bloody brilliant. Literally. Bloody and brilliant. Oh, dear.
Well, okay, well, if you want a kind of suitable geeky topic, here's one you might be able to answer for me. Because I saw the Avengers the other week.
Yeah.
Thanos.
Yes.
Does he ever do anything?
No, in the Marvel Universe, his job is to sit there and pop up, once at the end of every comic and say something obtuse.
Because I was kind of looking at his sort of success rate over the course of the films, versus his bit at the end where he is doing the whole "next time I shall do this" gadget routine. And as far as I can tell, his achievements consist of losing control of all of the magic gems of power, whatever they're called, infinity gems, losing his entire army like twice, being betrayed by everyone on his side, having all of his best people killed to prove that other villains are awesome. As far as I can tell, Infinity War Part 1 and 2 is going to be him and his chair against the universe. And I'm not sure how that's going to be a fantastic two-parter.
Well, I'm still hoping for a guest turn from Stephen Hawking, who will fight Thanos in his own chair. What's up, motherfucker? I'm gonna kick your ass.
The secret of the universe is that I am awesome.
Everything is awesome. Everything
is cool when you're part of a team. Or if you're me, you don't need the team, just the chair.
I'd like to see him having wheelchair races with Professor X. Suck it, bitch. Suck it long. Suck it hard.
Well, that was appropriate.
You know, I ended up with one of my friends really cross at me after X-Men, the last X-Men, Days of Future Past. Because there's that one moment, isn't there, at the end of Days of Future Past, where the dying sort of Magneto is lying there sort of bleeding to death and sort of looks over at Xavier and says, "Oh, Charles, all of those wasted years." And as we sort of come out, the first thing I said to my friends upon exiting the cinema was, "Oh, Charles, all of those wasted years. Make love to me one last time."
You see, I was kind of hoping he was going to scientific directors. He would do that, you know, all those wasted years. And then Professor X would just turn to me like, "No shit!"
Well, it wasn't my fault.
It's like, which of us was running the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants instead of doing something useful? It wasn't me.
Like, you even called it the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. The clue's in the fucking name there, Eric. I mean, a head dick factor 1. Engage.
Oh.
Mind you, the other plot development I'm still hoping for is that the Infinity Gems turn out to be the source of the power of the rings that summon Captain Planet.
That would be awesome.
And that's the crossover to end all crossovers.
Well, I mean, Vision is basically Captain Planet in the Avengers 2.
Yes, he is.
I mean, as soon as he's sort of produced with like the thing of light and, you know, all the different bits coming together, it is purely by your powers combined. You know, Thor's lightning thing and Stark's intelligence. He only has to come out and sort of start doing really terrible puns.
Oh, Skippy the happy elf.
Oh,
I dropped you.
Oh. We can rebuild him.
Do you want to go for a ride? Whee! 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 Oh, where'd he go? Oh well, never mind. I'll get another elf. No, seriously, where did he end up? Oh, there he is.
He's probably now embedded in the roof, so we can never actually finish this, and this Let's Play will go on forever.
Well, we'll go on until we get bored, I suppose. I thought we'd break it into sections. It depends how the conversations go. This is a bizarre game, though. It's bizarrely relaxing.
It is. It's kind of one of those ones where it's sort of trying hard to kind of focus on talking, since I was like, I'm looking for dead elves, and you know that's not a sentence you normally get to say. So I'm quite glad of it for that. It's
people complain about desensitization. Like, it's very desensitizing. You don't even see like I'm carrying a severed elf head, and I don't even care. Because it's just in my way. It's like, tut.
Is it? By the way, can I check? Is this box now officially an elf pack?
Oh no!
Thank you.
No,
I'm sure there'll be another 17 elf-related jokes in the next 5 minutes.
we're the National Elf Service. Oh dear.
But no, I mean, apart from the fact that I have no idea who Thanos is and what he does, I did really enjoy the last Avengers film.
Yeah, I was sort of initially was like, should we mention the Vision? It's like, yes, now I remember, because I actually avoided all but the very first teaser trailer because I'm very tired of the oversaturation of trailers and the fact that you get half the bloody movie before you've even seen it. So, but a lot of people in my social media circles were complaining that the trailer that hit just before the film's release contained a massive spoiler they wish they hadn't seen. And I sort of wondered what it was, and then I found out afterwards, after seeing the film, that it's the fact that the Vision is in the film, so they showed him in the trailer. So,
see, the trouble I have with the Vision is I've got no idea who he is, and so
nor do I. But
but it's when you're watching a TV show or a movie, you kind of get one of those bits where you're reminded that something wasn't for you. In the music, the responses, a bit like in the second Star Trek film, Into Darkness.
Yeah.
When they've got Benedict Cumberbatch locked in the jail, and she says, "What's your name?" And he goes, "My name is Khan," and everyone sort of stares at him as if that should actually mean anything to them.
Yeah, because it's for the older audience.
It's for the audience. Yeah, it's you see what we did there. And I had that with the Vision, because I didn't really know who he was and kind of what the big deal was, and it actually reminded me of Captain N, the game Captain N, the Game Master.
Yes,
because there's I think like one of the second season episodes.
Is
this obscure enough for you? Secondly, the one where they.
Are you sorry? Are you seeing that body part twitching?
Ooh, I don't know. I can't see where you are.
Like out the. I don't know if it's rendering it the same way.
No, that is dancing around. That is like Thing throwing a rave.
Yeah, I mean it is just a physics glitch. I've seen it before, but it's really creepy.
There we go. I shall throw it into the fire where it cannot disturb us again. And also this copy of Atlas Shrugged. But no, so the second serious thing was Captain N is when they introduced Game Boy. And it's done with huge amounts of pomp and circumstance, and Princess What's-Her-Face Lana's father. I could come back and save the world, but instead I choose to send Game Boy. I truly believe he will become our greatest defender, or some such bullshit. And that was basically how the Vision thing kind of played out to me. It's like, there is no good reason for this unless you know who this is from the cartoon. And I don't mean the audience, I mean the character.
I don't know, I disagree, because I don't know who the Vision is. I mean, I'm a much bigger Marvel fan than I am DC, but I've never really read a lot of comics. I didn't do that thing that a lot of people our age did, where they found their local comic shop and they got heavily into comics, and we were quite fortunate.
Did you have a local comic shop?
Well, we were quite fortunate that we did, and I did hang out there quite a bit, but only because a friend of mine at the time used to spend a lot of time in there, so it just became the only way I could kind of chat to him. But I never really routinely bought comics. So as I got a bit older, and I started making more geek friends who were comics fans, what I used to get was people saying, "Oh," I still do, to be fair, it's like, "Oh, you should read this trade paperback, it's really cool." So I would read that trade paperback. So there are characters that I have grown to like, and I have bought trade paperbacks on my own volition. Oh,
sorry, my cat insisting on coming in.
Damn cat.
No, I was always kind of the other side. I was never really into comics. I never really got them as a thing. It's not like I've got a problem with comics. Everyone complains. They're just not my thing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And so it was with people like, say, Kieran Gillen, who would sort of recommend, you have to read Preach, you have to read Metabaron, you have to read, Transman. I'd go out and I'd read those and I'd pick them up. I'd enjoy them, while it lasted. But I was never really inspired to, well, what else should I read? Going from that to kind of check out other people's work. So I was always much more into animation.
Yeah, me too.
So for me, it was Marvel's animation has always sucked. Going back to the always. Going back to the original, sort of the ones which everyone sort of mocks when it's like the Dr. Banner pelted with gamma rays turns into the Hulk, ain't he unglamma rays, and all that kind of stuff. From Marvel's like original stuff to like the X-Men type shows. I never liked them as much as the ones which the DC would do. Things like Batman, the animated series.
I think it's fair to say that the Batman animated series and that universe, the DC animated universe, which was generally from the launch of the Batman animated series onwards, was generally always connected. They have now, anything they do direct to video is normally a standalone thing. Like how many different Batmen have they had?
Well, quite. But I think even if you kind of go beyond like DCAU, specifically all the stuff with like Dini and Tim, in recent years especially, they've had the direct-to-video stuff which has been variable in quality, but generally on the good side of variable. And when they knock it out of the park, with stuff, Young Justice was amazing. It's a real shame that it got such a bad rap. It really did some cool stuff. It was one of those
all the chunks in this main room, by the way, because we could start mopping.
I'm just collecting dead elves from upstairs. There's some buried under a floorboard, which I'm assuming to be kind of part of sort of Santa's dirty little secrets.
Oh, literally buried under a floorboard?
Yeah, there's floorboards, and underneath there are dead elves, and I'm just retrieving them.
I have to come and see this now.
Oh, come take a look. It's where I'm currently hovering this torso.
Let's go see the disturbing little secret. Oh my goodness! Right, yeah, that's disturbing. Maybe we could just dump all the corpses in there and put the planks back. Yeah, it's all fine. Let's put it on the market and sell it.
But that's the Young Justice was great. I think it was the guy who did Gargoyles, which is always a good start.
Yeah, Gargoyles was good.
And I mean, Gargoyles is brilliant. It's one of the most. Amongst fans, it's really popular. In the wider world, nobody I've ever spoken to really has ever heard of it. And
well,
so
I wasn't a massive fan, but I do remember it. And yes, you're right. I mean, I think one of the things about Gargoyles is that when you look at the cast list after the fact, and you realise just how many Star Trek alumni were in there, that's always quite fun.
I think with Gargoyles, there are two things which always sort of jump up to me as why I think it's a brilliant series. I mean, there's many of them. It's a fantastic show, but the two which always sort of spring to mind are they're the only cartoon that's ever done a PSA worth of shit.
Oh, right.
And basically, it's about gun safety. And
okay.
Because obviously the idea is you've got the Gargoyles themselves who are from medieval Scotland and sort of brought into the future by a guy called Xanatos, who TV Tropes is absolutely in love with, but for very good reason. And so basically team up with this policewoman called I'm blanking her name, Eliza Maza, I think it is. And obviously she's a cop, she's got a gun, and it's just part of her job. And kind of most of it is your standard comic book thing where everyone else is using laser guns and things rather than actual firearms. But she's a cop, so she doesn't get a laser gun, she's got the regular kind that she points at people. And then basically a few episodes in, one of the more immature Gargoyles is in her apartment looking around, sees her gun, picks it up, starts playing with it, and accidentally shoots her with it.
Oh, crikey.
And then the entire rest is basically him running off in sort of sheer panic about, obviously having sort of shot basically their only human friend. And obviously it's not fatal, she's only hospitalised and so on. But it works on kind of multiple levels. There's a gun safety, that if you've got one, you put it away, you don't kind of leave it sort of sitting around. You've got the don't play with guns if you're the kid watching. And you've also got the ongoing thing that as a result he develops something of a real kind of issue with guns. He has a real fear of them. You won't play around with them in the future, while she takes much better care of it. It's like they actually learn from the experience. It's like, my God, I've just watched a PSA that is good.
Wow.
And then the other one actually is they introduced the villain in the first episode, Xanatos. And Xanatos is basically defined by being incredibly smart and always having plans within plans and kind of backup plans and kind of other ways of getting around things. And so they capture him, basically. They sort of prove that he's a villain in the opening extended episode.
Yeah.
That's cool. And to which his response is to quietly serve his sentence. And when he gets out to do a big press conference saying, I was wrong, I've learned, I hope to regain your trust, let me sort of help the city, and all that kind of sort of stuff.
And then he goes to work for the Tory party?
Oh, no, he of course, he does remain evil, at least for a good long while. But there's a follow-up episode involving this group called the Pack. I think they're called the Pack, something like this. It's definitely animal-related. And the episode is that basically there's four of them, and you sort of see them, they get arrested, taken to prison, usual Saturday morning cartoon fair stuff. And then they come back again a few episodes later, in which basically sort of Xanatos sort of turns up in a robot suit to break them out of prison again. Saturday morning cartoon,
absolutely,
as you do. And all of them basically are, yay, we shall escape and we shall get revenge on the Gargoyles, except for one of them, Fox, who sees basically that a female prison warden has been injured as a result of it, and she stays behind to help. And then the others, they rush off and they kind of go and do the villain thing, and they fight the Gargoyles, and they have their scheme and they get caught. And everything is all returned to prison, everything is as normal. And then you find out that the actual purpose of all of this wasn't to free them, it was so that Fox would do that thing, and so she'd look amazing in her upcoming parole hearing.
Really?
And it's just, this is a Saturday morning kids cartoon, which is that smart.
Yes.
And the entire show is that smart. It's not just like one-off moments. It is, okay, I'm really into this now. I love where this is going and kind of how they're pushing it. And
I've just found a Farscape pulse pistol. I swear that's what it is.
Let me see.
Look at this.
It does look like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, although I've just spotted that there is a trigger in the little hollow right towards the back. Because pulse pistols don't have triggers, which is kind of odd.
Yeah, it was like a squeezy thing, wasn't it? I haven't seen
No, it wasn't even a squeezy thing. I've actually got a replica pulse pistol.
Oh, I haven't seen Farscape for ages. What was it?
Yeah, well, right, this is the thing. Your watch, they do make the motion of pulling a trigger, but there's no trigger there. So in the place where the trigger should be, there's just, a curved surface. And they just kind of pull their finger against that. And Farscape has never actually, because this is the beauty of Farscape, of course, is that it doesn't matter. That's not it's not Trek. It doesn't have to explain, even in technobabble, how everything works. It's shut up, that's why, moving on. But yeah, they never actually explained how the pulse pistols work, because it doesn't matter. So fans have had a hell of a job over the years, the sort of fans that have to explain everything.
Why am I getting kind of Galaxy Quest flashbacks from this? It's like,
this was a stupid fucking episode. This is a badly written episode. Yeah, exactly. But I have a replica pulse pistol, and they're actually relatively common because they're kind of easy to make. They're normally just made out of resin because they're a single piece. No moving parts required. So so you just kind of. Oh, I found a charred body part.
Ooh.
An elf part. Yeah, so that's the defining thing about the pulse pistol, about Winona. No trigger.
Oh, Farscape always frustrates me because whenever you bring it up with someone, they always start talking about Muppets and you want to punch them.
Yeah, it's like...
No, not Muppets. Really good animatronic puppets. It's...
Yeah, it's like, okay, no, Muppets. Like Yoda was a Muppet.
Yeah.
Because this is the thing, I mean, when...
Well, it's like pointing towards Transformers, they say, look, Space Invaders, because they're both done with computers, right?
Yeah. Well, when the Star Wars movies first got re-released, the special editions first got re-released in '97, I remember having this conversation with my friends because, of course, we'd all grown up watching them on VHS and on telly at Christmas and all of that, and then we're going to see them in the cinema, and there were documentaries and things about them and makings of and stuff like that on TV at the time, and there was a whole point where they were going into the how they did everything with Yoda and so forth. And I remember distinctly sort of turning to one of my friends going, holy shit, Yoda's a puppet. And my friend sort of went, shit, yeah, Yoda's a puppet. Because it's so well, like Yoda as a character is so well acted.
Yeah, you just don't see the puppet.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same with Rigel and especially Pilot.
Pilot is amazing. I think the one which always jumps up for me with Pilot is that episode where basically they decide to chop off one of his arms.
Oh, I know.
And it's just, okay, if you've called this character a Muppet, you should now just write an apology letter. I will produce the apology letter for you. And it's like, dear everyone involved with Farscape, you don't know me, but a few years ago I said something really stupid about your work. And just wanted to make sure that in case it had got to you via some kind of psychic ether, or a wormhole opening up by which you heard the stupidity which came tumbling out of my vocal cords, I would like to apologise. You did an awesome job. If only Star Trek could do this instead of their poxy CG and shitty foreheads.
I don't know whether to applaud you or worry that I've just lost half my audience.
Well, it does bug me that people will argue for ages about why Klingon foreheads change. Psst, special effects budget. But then they won't sort of take something which is genuinely innovative in using puppets to that sort of degree.
Yeah, but the Klingon forehead thing is entirely Trek's fault insofar as...
Well, I did the joke about it, but...
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? The joke that Worf makes about it in Trials and Tribulations is all it ever required.
Yeah.
Just a little nod, yes.
Oops.
You just suicide bombed me.
Well, no, some TNT came out of the slosh-o-matic and I threw it into the fire. It seemed like the thing to do.
You just jibbed me.
Well, I will clean it up.
I was going to say, clean up my charred testicles now.
I'm just wondering if there's a fighter, whether it is Gib or Jib, because I'd always say Gib.
Well, is it one of the Bee Gees? Then it's not a Gib. I really wouldn't bother mopping that up just yet, because we're still chucking stuff in the fire.
Standards count. Reminds me of a really shitty Saturday job I once had. So that involved lots of dead elves too.
I was going to say, how many dead elves? Jesus Christ, Ryman's was brutal back in the day. Do Ryman's still exist?
Yeah, I think so.
If you want some overpriced stationery. Would you like a pad of paper? That'll be a £5, please.
I understand they're going to business with a whole food shop to sort of sell various other things. So now you can go in and get your Ryman raisins. You have just lost your entire audience, and I'm not sorry. It's actually wonderful. One of my favourite things about YouTube is you can bring in the analytics screen and see exactly where people stopped.
Yes. I know.
I'm just saying
like,
because that is going to look like a cliff face.
Oh dear.
I always think it's quite funny when you do something where not cynically, but you have like a sort of sexy picture as the thumbnail art, if it's just that kind of game, and kind of waiting to sort of see the drop off when people get to the point where the sexy picture appeared. It's usually dramatic. It's like kind of, that's what I was here for, and now I'm gone. Oops, I'm splashing blood on the floor now.
Well, Emma Blackery did one of those last year, where the thumbnail... Oh no, it was Luke Cutforth, who admittedly is a boyfriend, where before they'd sort of come out as a couple, which actually, you know what, I really like them as YouTubers. I find them amusing. I just think
I do not know them. I'm feeling... What do they do?
Well, Emma Blackery started off doing...
Before you continue, here's some TNT, do something with that. I told you to do something with that! You're the worst at this.
Is that how it's going to be, Cobbett? Is that going to... Right, where's the fucking dynamite?
It keeps coming out of the water machine. Why does the water machine have dynamite in it?
Okay, I just had some and it just sort of vanished. Where the fuck did that go? How am I supposed to blow you up if I keep dropping it? Ball sack. Oh. I've just found something else potentially interesting.
Oh yeah?
Yes. Where are you, you prick? Come here! Eat my Molotov. Right, this has become deathmatch.
Well, in that case, I'm bringing out the PK meter with the dildo on it.
Hug me! Hug me! Hug me! Love me!
And this... Yes, this PK...
I've just noticed they've changed this since the last patch.
I am the keymaster.
You know when it pops up your name, age and occupation?
Yeah.
You've got a clone number at the end now.
Oh, right.
I am Totoro Matt 6. Oh, fuck, is that my skull? Or my spleen?
You have to ask.
I think that's my spleen. Well, no, is spleen's that shape? No, they're sort of wormy, aren't they, spleens?
I don't know. Is it in the fire?
Well, it's in the fire now.
Oops.
Oh, it's good. Last time I played this in multiplayer, I played with my mate Org from the broadcast, and he kept kicking over the bloody buckets when we were trying to clear up. Oh shit! Was that hole always there?
What hole?
Look, the jagged hole in the wall.
Oh, this one, yeah, that was always there.
Oh, that's all right then. I thought we did that.
Oh.
Worst clean-up crew ever.
Although that'd be fantastic. You kind of blow holes in the wall and you kind of end up falling into other games.
That is definitely my arm.
Because, I mean, they've got the one for Shadow Warrior. I think they ought to maybe kind of do it at some other ones as well. I would love
the idea.
Well, I would love to see the Duke Nukem Forever clean-up detail, because the entire thing is just a pile of shit. So basically, you would just scrub it, and then underneath would just be like the holodeck. You know, like a big empty room with no trace of Duke Forever left. It's like, that would be awesome.
Well, I was going to say, I think cleaning up after Duke Nukem, it would be like cleaning the holodeck after Riker's done with it.
That would be great. You'd have kind of Randy Pitchford kind of walking around, just sort of talking crap, and he'd go splattering over everything, so you'd have to clear up that.
But in all seriousness, I thought that was kind of the idea, and maybe initially it was, to license a bunch of games coming up. And what would be great is if they could work in, if you own that game, it would actually draw the levels in the state you left them in.
Oh.
So you then have to go through and kind of fix everything you fucked up. I kind of like that as a perverse little idea.
Well, I think it'd be also if they did something like, say, Sunset, where the whole point of the game is that you're the cleaner anyway. And so basically, like, these guys would just sort of walk in. It's like, kind of, well, this seems all pretty
seems in order.
Pretty good. I guess we'll throw some buckets of blood on stuff now.
Oh dear.
So what else is going on, kind of geek-wise, at the moment?
Well, lots of things, one presumes. Okay, on a non-gaming related but otherwise nerdy front, I am actually quite looking forward to Windows 10.
Really?
Yes, I genuinely am. I have been using the preview edition on my laptop, and my first reaction was, I like this, but I think I like this because it's not Windows 8.
In fairness, not being Windows 8 is the best slogan they could go with.
Well, much like as with Windows 7, it's not Vista.
Well, the absolute best one they had in recent years was when they were doing Vista. I remember this. I did a lot of writing at the time for Windows Magazine, and there are very few more memorable sights than seeing Vista demonstrated, and an entire lineup of Microsoft executives sitting under the carefully chosen slogan, Vista, the wow starts now. And what really stuck in my mind isn't so much how terrible that slogan was, and believe me, it is a stinker. It's the fact that for the next couple of years, everything which was written in the official Windows magazine had to have a box out called Wow. Where you had to come up with some amazing wow thing for whatever you were talking about. And so it would be things like, here's how to defragment your hard drive. And now, 100 words of wow. And it's like, wow, you can pretend...
difference?
You can
video?
You can pretend this actually did something and that it's not 1997 anymore. It's, you know...
Did you just... How did you just kill me?
Did I just kill you?
Well, I'm dead.
I was just holding a present. I didn't know the present was death.
So you were asking about, Emma Blackery and Luke Cutforth. So, Emma Blackery I became aware of first, and she started off doing sort of a tweens kind of lifestyle channel thing, almost. Just kind of, I guess she's a vlogger, so it sort of started off primarily kind of aimed at tweens, and so she was talking a lot about homework and school and what she would do when bullied or expressing herself or blah blah blah. You know the sort of stuff.
Oh yeah.
But then she kind of, as she got older and more confident. I mean, she's only 23 now. It marvels me at how young these kids are. These big YouTubers are. Like Markiplier's 25. You know, it's absolutely insane. But she's kind of started doing comedy skits and stuff, and then I first became aware of her because she's the person that recorded the "Fuck Google Plus" song. I don't know if you've ever seen
I have not heard this.
This went viral when you remember when YouTube and Google Plus merged.
Sign-up thing. Yeah, it's awful.
Yes, and it's all sort of compulsory and yada 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 yada. So she did this little. She wrote this little song called "Fuck You Google Plus," which was fucking hilarious. And the most hilarious thing about this song is at the end she suddenly stops and goes, "Shit, I've got a meeting with Google later. That's going to go well." So based on that, I started following her, and she's actually very funny with her sort of scripted stuff. And through her, I started following another YouTuber called Luke Cupforth, who does much the same thing, and he's a really funny guy as well. In fact, the first time I saw him, Emma had done a video about it was a shot-for-shot remake stroke parody of the "We Built This City with Rock and Roll" mobile phone ad. And Luke popped up instead of having a CG cat, because she didn't have the budget for a CG cat. Luke just put on a furry suit and sat in a shopping trolley while she pushed it along, and they lip synced, and it was amusing. They came out as a couple recently, and this is where I kind of went, like, on the one hand, I like them both. They've been friends for a long time, and they've done a lot of video collaboration together. So, like, on a personal level, I thought it was really sweet to see them together as a couple, and I was actually really happy for them. On the other hand, dragging your personal life into things like that, like, I've had to stop following them both on Twitter, because you know how you get with youngsters, especially on Facebook, the kind of the vague booking, like, well, I guess I just can't trust people anymore, and stuff like that.
Well, that's not vague booking, that's just accepting the entire world is against you, which it is.
You heard it here first, kids. A lot of her feed in particular is that, and it's like, seriously, like, I respect you and I respect what you do on YouTube. The fact that you've become as big as you are in such a relatively short space of time, and business-wise, you've clearly got your head screwed on. Like, I've got a lot of respect for that. But
I want to keep this shotgun shell. Can you open the thing for me?
You want to keep the shotgun shell?
Yeah, just a souvenir. Fired by Santa. It's got to be worth something on eBay. If people can take, various rappers' breath, then I'm going to say that, and also this voodoo doll that Santa has for some reason, has to be kind of worth a thing.
All right, I'll just burn this leg. Do you want to pick up the case and maybe stick it on the table or something so we can mop up around it? If
you're going to do this professionally.
Well, here at the National Elf Service, we... right, where's the bucket dispenser? Bucket.
Here you go.
I don't want a bucket, fucker. Yeah, I don't think people should kind of drag their personal lives into that, because it just comes across, like, for the most part, she comes across as very mature and very switched on and yada yada, and then you get stuff like that where you're like, no, you really are just 23, aren't you? And I just don't find it a professional way to behave.
Well, I always find there's a real... I think at the moment professionalism is such a really hard concept in general. So I don't know, as I'm not coming to know things specifically, but you have that sort of element of people want to feel like they know people, but also they don't. And
yeah,
so
well,
it's like kind of, if you know me, that if you want to kind of follow what I'm doing, sometimes I will have a bad day. It's like not very few people are kind of always on.
Yeah, well, I'm absolutely on board with the concept of everybody being entitled to a bad day. I've had, in the early days, my early days on social media in particular, I've had my sort of outbursts on Twitter and so on, where I'm feeling particularly shitty and whatever else. However, if somebody's entire feed is mostly that, and especially when they're making reference to people you don't know, and that's the other thing, I find that very mean-spirited, because, yeah, you're a big YouTuber, you've got millions of subscribers on Twitter and on your channel and so forth. The people you're talking about don't. So not only are you portraying a one-sided story, you are borderline social media bullying.
One of the things I really hate is when people with high counts will do that thing, that sort of passive-aggressive unleashing of the hounds. It's like, I'm not telling people to go and attack you. I am just copying the tweet which you just posted, so that everyone can see that you have said something mean about me, and after that I wash my hands of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, no. If you, I sort of understand that you might be annoyed that someone's been a dick, but it's your responsibility at that point to kind of wield your power appropriately.
Yes.
If you want to say that I am annoyed because somebody has been calling me names I really wish people wouldn't, fine. If it's like kind of, well, I didn't say you should all hate bomb this person, and especially when it's always something so petty. It's like this person with 10 followers said something mean, and it's like, I think you can possibly maybe grow a bit of a thicker skin.
There is a fine line, though, isn't there? Because at the same time, I also, I believe that we should all behave respectfully to one another wherever possible.
I'm speaking in terms of like the release the hounds thing, rather than actually taking it personally.
No, I'm talking about that as well. Like, I think there's a fine line between sometimes people need to be taught a lesson in terms of they need to realise that sometimes when you say stupid things publicly, there will be consequences, even if those consequences aren't pleasant. But again, like you, I do completely draw the line at the sort of thing, the unleashing of the hounds as you describe. I think that is completely out of the question. So these things are just oh dear, that means I'm going to get a leg. Lovely. I don't want a leg. Cock off.
No, it just tends to, especially with when it's kind of a cult of personality like YouTube, where people don't actually care what's been said. It's just charging in to defend someone who doesn't need defending. I sometimes think on the point when I've got about 4,000 Twitter followers, including the spam bots, which is probably 3,500.
Release the spam bots.
But it's just I sort of try and be sort of careful, like retweeting and so on. Like not doing that, and I think that the more you've got, the more it's kind of the emphasis is to shrug stuff off, and not exclusively. I think there are kind of cases where someone might sort of say something stupid and it's fine. But I think when it's just that sort of self-confidence, I am bigger than you, feel my power.
Yes.
I always feel kind of, be bigger than that.
Well, Ricky Gervais is frequently guilty of that, isn't he?
I don't tend to have a problem when it's Glenna's quite a good example, because generally when he sort of does it, it's when someone's kind of gone beyond the pale, sort of sending shit.
Yes. I think sometimes that sort of thing can be used as a force for good if you are responding in kind and I think, when somebody else started it.
Well, I think more often I think it works in the case which I see work because it's where people might not necessarily accept there's a problem, and I think it can kind of draw attention to like the wider picture rather than that specific thing. So like you sort of say that when you say, I don't know, not going to get into any sort of specifics, but you say a thing and a certain kind of person pops up. That person pops up to go, no, we don't. I think that is kind of, okay, fine, you're kind of asked for that one. But I think when it's sort of something more kind of casual, like, you haven't released a new video in a while, what the hell's up with that? And it's being retweeted just to get everyone to tell that person to shut up.
Yes, you know what? Speaking of that, a practice I really dislike on Twitter, because the thing about Twitter, I think we can both agree, is it makes people, and we're all guilty of it once every so often, is the self-entitlement. It makes us feel very self-entitled in regards to our content creators.
And also the knee-jerk reactions will tie into it.
Yes, no, absolutely. I don't disagree. And what I really dislike is when people talking about celebrities tag that celebrity in the tweet. Yeah. And it's like either you are assuming that the celebrity actually gives a shit what you think about them and wants to read it, or you're just so clueless, or you're just trying to get attention, or I mean, what are you? I used to know a guy. I used to work with a guy that was forever. I unfollowed him in the end. Who was forever tweeting at celebrities because he got off on getting a little bit of celebrity attention. Now it's a thrill. If you tweet at somebody you admire and you get a response back, it's a thrill.
Oh yeah,
you know, or if you get retweeted by somebody you admire as well. That's.
But I think also in the early ones. I know that now it means nothing. But I know that back when sort of Twitter was sort of first starting, it was like there is a cool fact too. Stephen Fry is now following you on Twitter.
Yes.
Now he follows like 100 million people. I mean that's not a big thing, but yeah, at the time it was a thing that was quite cool. Now not so much. And I don't tend to have a problem when people tag in stuff on good things. You know, like I really enjoyed, you know, the last episode of, you know, Glinner's the IT crowd or whatever, or something on those sort of lines, where it's positive. But I really, when you sort of see people, you kind of sort of see where that comes from. I think it's okay. It's when people sort of tweeting in the negative stuff. You're like, such and such is a monster. I tag them in so they can know that I think this.
Well, you see, I kind of feel slightly different because I don't think it's fair to say that that the kind of communication that Twitter makes possible should only exist for positive things.
Oh, I don't. I'm talking about people sort of just tagging stuff in. It's like if you're having an argument with someone and you sort of try to basically pull a celebrity into your argument rather than kind of doing like kind of an offhanded. I thought this was awesome.
That's the point I'm kind of arriving at, is that if you're going to do it, you should stop and think, do I actually want the celebrity to see this, and would it have any kind of benefit, whether I'm saying something negative or positive? Will you stop smashing me in the face with buckets, sir?
You can smash in the face with the PK dildo if you want.
Ooh. I wasn't aware I was being rewarded. Is there a potentially positive outcome from your perspective in you tweeting this person, in this person seeing what you're saying? And if there is no chance that there's going to be, like, even if you think even tangentially that there is a chance that if you tweet that celebrity, they may say, actually, I agree, I'm sorry. Even if something as basic as that, then fair, by all means.
Yeah.
But if you're being realistic...
And I'd say quite a good example of that, actually, was Dreamfall, the new one, Dreamfall Chapters.
Right.
There's a character in there called Mira. Mira, M-I-R-A, anyway. And she has some unfortunate lines. Now, I like Dreamfall Chapters a lot. I'm not trying to reopen a can of worms. It's just like kind of a case of this being a thing. And basically, Mira's thing is that she's got an assistant called Wit, and a big part of her personality is meant to be a toxic personality who is so awful that, you know, what she says sort of stops mattering, if you know that kind of character.
Like Katie Hopkins?
No. Because you're meant to like her. And there's a non-zero chance that she will sort of die to some kind of dream monster. No, it's... But basically, she says awful things. Like every other line is like insulting, and the idea is meant to be like she's like a house type character. You know, what will she say next? And there's something, and there's a line, I forget the exact line, but when she's sort of talking to her sister, it's something like next you will be telling me you are faking your retardation or something like that, and it's out. And it's like leaving aside whether or not you can get away with that line, you haven't earned that line yet. We're not at the level yet where she's sort of like a house figure who you know that she doesn't actually mean anything that she says and she's just trying to get a reaction or whatever. She hasn't earned that. And that's assuming that you think that the basic line itself is, justifiable. I think that's kind of arguable. But nevertheless, kind of a few people brought up, I think it was Nina White especially, basically just raised this on Twitter and with Ragnar, and there was a proper discussion about it. It wasn't you don't have the right to say this. It was just I was disappointed that you said this, and that kind of argument. And in talking about it, it kind of worked itself out. There was the back and forth. There's like kind of both sides seeing each other's arguments. It worked out pretty well. But that was a case of more of a personalised, I expected different from you, rather than, I am trying to make a huge amount of fuss, release the hounds.
Did you just suicide bomb again?
It keeps on giving me loaded TNT, which I can't do anything about. So
loaded TNT? So you're not deliberately setting fire to it?
It comes out lit, and I don't have a bucket around because it's giving me TNT instead of a bucket.
I get you. Oh, I thought you were doing it on purpose.
No. Sometimes it produces bits of elf, and sometimes it produces lit TNT.
Nice. Classy.
But no, I do think that sometimes there are those cases where the argument on Twitter can help. And another one was that awful Batgirl cover, where they redid the Killing Joke. And the arguments kind of from people sort of protesting against it were enough to kind of get the creators to be able to say, we don't want this either, and to get it pulled. And kind of it produced like the impetus, I think, for a decision which needed to be made. But it's like, are you doing that? Or are you just trying to cause trouble? And I think most of the time when people sort of tag in a celebrity, they're just trying to cause trouble.
Or they're just self-absorbed and they think they're important enough for the celebrity to give a toss about.
But I think quite often it is people. I mean, I know that the Joss Whedon thing isn't what people thought it was originally, but we just use it as an example. People complaining about the Black Widow thing in the Avengers did produce some good talk about that whole situation.
Also to produce some bandwagoning and some awful talk about that situation.
It also produced an interesting conversation which wouldn't have been had otherwise. Even though I don't really sort of agree that in that case there was that big of a problem. But I think the conversations were worth having.
Yeah, I mean, my perspective on that whole issue, just for the record, really, was that I respect somebody's right to be offended by the content of that movie and the scenes in question. However, I'm not offended myself, and I'm not reading into it the things that
I didn't read that at all. My reading of it was entirely that he brings up.
Well, hang on. Should we be careful about plot spoilers because the film is fairly new?
It's not a big plot spoiler.
I don't. I'd be more comfortable if we didn't.
Okay, well, the thing which happened, my understanding was that it was a different part of the conversation being referred to in the line in question.
Well, there were two problems with it. The first is the one you've just referenced, and the second one is the other thing that's fairly obvious.
Oh, now I'm being so vague. I'm not.
Yeah,
there's like three things.
It's not quite working. So.
I'm thinking explicitly of that conversation.
Yes,
where there is a discussion of the nature of monsters and what makes one a monster. And to my reading, it was entirely down to Widow being an assassin, as opposed to the other detail, which is sort of brought in at that point. It was entirely like I was brought up to be a killer. And that was all that I read out of it. But obviously, other people read other things, and I think there are interesting arguments to be made from that.
There are, like you. What I took from that is the entire process she refers to, from start to finish, every aspect. Basically, what she's describing is there is a complete dehumanizing process to make one an assassin, of which this thing is a part. And the reason she refers to that thing is because Bruce has
just brought it up.
Yeah, Bruce brought it up in context, in his own context. So yes, in terms of the nature of monsters, she's referring to overall the person that she became and the person she's no longer trying to be. However, people read specifics into that.
Severed head.
Severed head.
It's gone now.
A friend of mine got quite upset at one of the other things that was being complained about by some people, which is that you have Linda Cardinelli playing a housewife character.
Really?
Yes, on the grounds that when you meet her, she's literally coming out of the kitchen, blah, blah, blah. She's pregnant. She couldn't be a more stereotypical...
Oh, no, totally.
And I'm like... And my friend, her point of view is, how fucking dare you belittle somebody that chooses to be a stay-at-home mother? Because actually, in the case of the character that Cardinelli plays... It is clearly, without going into spoiler territory, because of that's another issue as well. It is clearly a choice she's made.
Well, I think what saves on, again, I'm trying to avoid specific spoilers, is that ordinarily that character would be, and this is talking entirely in the fictional constructs of your Hollywood and TV, that character is usually the buzzkill.
And she's not.
And she's very, very much not. And I think it's that one line, and again I can't say what the line is without kind of spoiling it, but it is when she is every bit as on board with what's going on as anybody else in that scene. And I think that for me that is kind of, she's not in the dark about it, she's not
you just
pushing
died
against it. Yeah, I know.
At least you had the sense to put your head in the fire beforehand.
Well, it's tidy. But, I mean,
can I actually drag your corpse around? I can't.
I don't.
It's a non-entity. I found more elf bits hidden underneath the
I
present.
take the time of my evening to come and record your silly video, and now apparently I'm a non-entity.
Well, you have just disappeared.
Bucket.
I bucketed. Very dare you.
Eat physics.
Eat rudimentary physics and you don't overhaul.
Let loose the havoc of war, literally.
So yeah, no, absolutely, she is very much on board.
Yeah, and I think that is
about members of the team.
She does, but I think notably she doesn't raise
the person as a person. She's not concerned with, oh, you're going to run off and be, and do that. And that's a very important thing.
And I think it's also a question of the priorities of it, in that she's not. She has no problem with a certain other member of the team who you might expect her to have a problem with.
Right? Yes, absolutely. And that would have been a very.
And in fact, it has kind of entirely brought them into the family, and kind of it sort of treats them as an aunt, or effectively.
Yes, no, absolutely, yeah. So this is the thing. So it's actually, it's like, okay, if you individually as a woman are offended by the portrayal of Cardinelli's character, okay, I respect your right to be offended by that, but I can't agree. And but I think the thing that made me so angry about the entire thing, before we knew what the real reason was, but the concept of him being hounded off Twitter for this was, until recently, Whedon was the go-to name check for feminist allies, especially within science fiction and fantasy.
I think he still is. I mean, I think that.
No, I mean, for a lot of people, he still is.
You get, crazy people like, what was her name? Athena or something like that. So you kind of did that infamous thing about Firefly, where you sort of made out that Mal Reynolds was a rapist, written by a rapist or something like that. It was just strange. Yeah, the argument was something weird, like because Zoe in Firefly was married, that meant that she was subservient to it. It was absolute bullshit.
Zoe Washburn subservient to anyone.
Well, yeah, it was that kind of. It was like at one point she offers to make him soup, and apparently that was a betrayal of feminism or something. It's stupid. I mean, it was a really badly thought out argument. But I mean,
sounds about right.
but I think for the most part, people have sort of said that they are disappointed by certain elements of Avengers 2. But I didn't see that much lines of kind of Whedon is ruined forever. Just I expected different from you, and I think that's fair enough. I know that I kind of felt the same way during a lot of Dollhouse.
Dollhouse is an interesting beast, though, isn't it? Because it starts off one way, and you're like, "Oh, okay, really? Joss Whedon wrote this?" Because
it's like, what?
I basically see prostitution going on.
Well, it's like Dollhouse was a show which didn't ever seem to kind of decide what side it was on. I mean, I'm not.
Yeah.
I mean,
actually, I just want to clarify that. So I'm not saying that sex work is an anti-feminist thing.
No.
Because that's what it sounds like I just said. That's not what I mean. What I mean is, the dolls in Dollhouse have no awareness of their actions, and therefore, it could be argued that they're being sexually abused. That it's not willing prostitution.
Well, I mean, they flat out are. I mean, the what's her face, the head of the Dollhouse, is literally doing that with. I've forgotten his letter. No, the other.
Alpha.
No, the guy.
Yes. Really talented guy.
Yeah, who has appeared in Agent Carter and very little else and deserves to.
Enver something.
Enver, I can't pronounce his surname, but I forget what his character was called. It was
Victor.
Victor, that was it, obviously. My thing with Dollhouse was I was never quite sure what side it was on. Because it was like
until the end.
Even the end was, the wider implications of the mind wiping technology. But before then, it kind of went from this is awful because some people are using it for sex to this is brilliant because some people are using it for secret agents. And
but you do find out towards the end of the series that everybody involved is volunteers, whether they remember it or not. And are well aware of how they're going to be, or how they could be used going in.
To some extent. I mean, it is a secret organisation for a reason.
Well, it was more. It was a secret organisation because they didn't want the government getting their hands on the technology, did they?
Well, yeah, but I'm fairly certain that at no point do they say that if anything goes wrong, you'll be locked in the attic in our personal cyber hell setup.
Well, there is that, yes.
Stuff like that, and I don't know. It was a frustrating show for me because I think it just didn't know what it was. A bit like a few other big sci-fi shows, where it wanted to have its cake and eat it, to kind of go, "Ooh, this is slightly dodgy," but also to have like the sexy outfits and kind of bad, silly voices
yes.
Excuses to put the entire cast of Firefly into things at various points.
It is a flawed masterpiece, Dollhouse, in my opinion. I love Dollhouse, and yes, I do find it very flawed and occasionally problematic. But
I'm okay with things being problematic. I think with me, a lot of it is not. Is this a problem? So I think can be a problem within a show and be fine. I mean, like say, Mad Men is very sexist, but I wouldn't say that's a problem with the show because that's part of what it's doing. Likewise, kind of Game of Thrones does a lot of the same kind of stuff, which is part and parcel of what it is. It might not be a show you want to watch as a result, but it's not necessarily a flaw with the show. Whereas with Dollhouse, like I said, a few others, it is just, where do you actually stand on this? What am I meant to be sort of taking away from, this thing which you set up? And, you've got sort of sides set up, but I don't yet know who's...
Yeah, like, establish your tone, in effect. So that we know, so we can then make a decision as to how we feel about it, rather than sort of trying to have the best of both worlds type thing.
And a lot of it with Dollhouse was things like, okay, it's a secret, but it's a secret that literally everybody knows.
Very wealthy people.
Well, I know, but the people who they're trying to keep it from are the people who know.
Yes.
And so it's sort of, why is this a secret now? Why not just, come forward and say what you're doing? And obviously by the end of the series they do understand that they've got the bigger conspiracy going on, fine. But you then kind of sort of start getting the talk of we've got the other dollhouses in sort of other cities. Like, how big is this conspiracy?
Yeah.
You've got people who are signing up for things, you've got, like memory wiping, you have kind of family members around, you've got people who are going to see these people. There's a point at which, it's either a secret or it's not. And if it is a secret, then why is it a secret? And is it why are you kind of wasting time doing kind of random commissions, for basically prostitution, when the same people are also apparently making a fortune from being secret agents and specialists? So I don't get why you're renting these people out to businessmen as toys, if presumably the government is paying you literally millions to sort of to give them like advanced knowledge of SAS training and the more kind of pragmatic uses of this technology.
Right. No. Well, I think we should carry on cleaning this up, but I think I'm going to break the video here. So, my thanks to Richard for joining me.
No.
And we'll see you in another video. We'll carry on cleaning this up. We will get this place clean. We'll have Santa proud of us. If in fact it wasn't Santa,
I'm pretty sure that Santa's dead. I think we're taking over this for some other company.
Well, I haven't been to the basement yet. We might find him there.
Just go into the basement. There is blood everywhere, but I see no Santa, and that would be a lot of blood.
So maybe it is him that did the rampage. So who knows? But we'll catch you in the next video, whenever I'm going to put that up. Next week, I don't know. I don't know when I'm putting this one up. It's all going horribly wrong. Richard, do you want to kind of pimp your stuff on your channel? I'll obviously put links in the description below, and we'll do a thing where I'm like, hey, here's Richard's face. Let's click on Richard's face to go to Richard's channel. Ooh. But pimp your channel.
Well, you can't click on it now because it looks like my video has just crashed again. So, you just got there. Let me try that again. This time without trying to pick up dead elves. Probably the best site for mine is richardcobbett.com. That's where I kind of post all of my random game stuff. I've also got a YouTube channel at Richard Perspective, where it's generally kind of old retro stuff, usually adventure games. I keep meaning to put more stuff up, but I'm very, very lazy. Most of my articles are Patreon powered, so if you like what I do, please feel free to throw in a few bucks a month. And if not, I'm sorry. I'll try and do better in the future.
Yeah, that'll do. So thanks very much for watching. I will catch you in whenever, another week's time. And yeah, we'll continue cleaning up this horrendous mess, most of which we made ourselves because Dynamite.
Love you, Dynamite is lovely.